Hi, I'm Helen Davison from Maritime New Zealand. I'm here today to talk to you about the new MOS rules and the new MOS requirements and how they will affect you. So today in this presentation we'll be covering the changes around MOS, and what we'll be looking at is how will MOS work, what are the key differences between that and SSM, who does MOS apply to and who isn't covered by the new framework, what are my responsibilities as an operator under MOS, when do I need to enter MOS and how will the transition work from SSM into MOS? What are the first steps to enter MOS? How do I develop my safety system? And once I'm in MOS, what happens from there? So just to cover off some of the key differences between MOS and SSM. SSM is a ship owners are required to be part of an SSM company under SSM, and they have a safety manual which is developed for each ship. The SSM certificate is issued per ship and is for up to 4 years. So SSM is a vessel-based system. MOS is an operator-based system. So commercial operators no longer are required to be a member of an SSM company. Safety systems are developed for the whole operation as opposed to just per vessel. And the Maritime Transport Operator Certificate is issued for a whole operation for up to 10 years.
There is a significant change to surveyor recognition under MOS. After 1st of July 2014, safe ship management companies will no longer have a regulatory role under MOS. Because of this, a surveyor will not required to be employed by a safe ship management company. As you can see in the slide, there's a direct link between MNZ and the surveyor. This means that the director will prescribe survey performance requirements which the surveyor will be required to operate to. This will lift the standards of survey in MOS.
So MOS has been given effect through 2 new maritime rules. Maritime Rule Part 19, which covers the operator part of MOS, basically the safety system and the heart of MOS, and Maritime Rule Part 44, which is focused on the responsibilities of the surveyor and the certification and maintenance of the ships. So just some key dates. In late 2013 we held a number of MOS briefings, and we also had consultation on the fees. In early 2014 we're going to be holding some interactive workshops around MOS. So these will be much more of an interactive session where operators can talk to us about how they're going to develop their safety systems. April of next year, operators will be able to apply for their MTOCs, their Maritime Transport Operator Certificate, and July 2014 is when operators must comply with the new MOS rules. Now you don't have to apply in April, and that will be covered a little bit later on, but that's when you can start to apply, so it gives 3 months before the rules come into force.
If you are an existing commercial operation in safe ship management, you will be required to comply with MOS after 1st of July 2014. If you are a new operator coming into the system after 1st of July 2014, and if your operation is not covered by one of the safety systems that we have on this slide, then you need to comply with MOS. ISM is a safety system that covers vessels greater than 45 meters and that ply beyond restricted limits. SOP, or Safe Operational Plans, covers commercial jet boats, commercial rafts, commercial under 6 meter fishing vessels that don't fish more than 2 nautical miles from the coast, and commercial under 6 meter passenger vessels that are engaged in recreational diving and that do not operate more than 5 nautical miles from the coast. Safety case is a safety system for specialized vessels. In all cases, the director will advise which vessels come under a safety case. The last category of safety system is a barge safety certificate, applicable to barges greater than 24 meters in length, which are not self-powered and which do not have persons on board during a voyage. So in summary, if you're a new operator coming into the system after 1st of July 2014 and your operation is not covered by one of the safety systems mentioned on this slide, then you need to comply with MOS. This slide summarizes what I've just covered in the previous slide. You have a list of vessels under MOS. This is the passenger, the barges that carry persons on board, the non-passenger vessels, fishing vessels, and sailing vessels. All of these vessels will come under MOS. What's new in this slide is the specified limits vessels. This is a very limited category applicable to vessels that operate in and around structures that are close to land. Vessels that are under 12 meters, that operate away from the main shipping lanes, and that are working close to shore and in and around wharves can apply for a permit under this category to the Director. This specified limit category is covered in Rule 20.
When do I need to enter MOS? MNZ is taking a staged approach to transitioning operators into MOS. We're doing this through the deeming provisions in the Maritime Rules. This means that on day 1 of MOS, the 1st of July 2014, if you have a valid SSM certificate, your operation will automatically be in MOS. You won't have to do anything at this stage. You will, however, need to continue to be a fit and proper person, and that is an ongoing obligation under Section 41 of the Maritime Transport Act. You'll need to meet the requirements associated with your Safe Ship Management Certificate, and those are the requirements set out in Appendix 6 to Rule Part 21. And you'll need to have a valid Fit for Purpose certificate for each of the vessels in your operation. You need to remember that from the 1st of July, you're no longer required to be a member of a Safe Ship Management Company. As the Safe Ship Management Companies will no longer have a mandated role under the Maritime Rules, this means that Maritime Rules New Zealand will take over the audit function previously performed by SSM companies.
So when do you need MOS certificates? There are 2 MOS certificates. One is the Maritime Transport Operator Certificate, and the other is the Certificate of Survey for the vessel. You need a Maritime Transport Operator Certificate when your Safe Ship Management Certificate expires. If you're a multi-vessel operation, then when your first Safe Ship Management Certificate expires, you need the Maritime Transport Operator Certificate. Regarding the vessels, you need a Certificate of Survey when your Fit for Purpose certificate expires, or when the Safe Ship Management Certificate expires, or when the vessel reaches its first out-of-water survey date. This slide summarizes MOS entry requirements under the heading of certificates. It could probably be an easier way for you to assess when you need to enter. When your SSM certificate expires, you need a new Maritime Transport Operator Certificate and a new Certificate of Survey for your vessel. When your SSM certificate and your Fit for Purpose expires, the same requirements apply. You need a new Maritime Transport Operator Certificate for your operation and a Certificate of Survey for the vessel. However, under the 3rd heading, you may still have a valid Safe Ship Management Certificate, but your Fit for Purpose certificate may have expired, or your next out-of-water survey date may have reached. In that case, you can continue to operate on your deemed Safe Ship Management Certificate, which is a deemed MTOC, but you will need a new Certificate of Survey for that vessel.
From the 1st of July 2014, you may be operating under a deemed certificate. So while you're operating under a deemed certificate, you must continue to meet the requirements associated with your SSM certificate as if Rule Part 21 had not been revoked. However, you do not need to be a member of an SSM company, and you do not have to meet the requirements of any memorandum of understanding that you have with an SSM company. From the 1st of July 2014, Maritime New Zealand will undertake the audits of operators and vessels, and this will be done against the requirements of Maritime Rule Part 21. If you're under a deemed certificate, then your operation doesn't have to comply with Parts B and C of Rule 19. It's advisable that you start to create your operator plan early so that you can make sure there's plenty of time to actually issue your certificate. So if you're actually operating under an MTOC, under a Maritime Transport Operator Certificate, then you need to carry out your operation as per the plan. You also need to continue to make sure that the plan is relevant and that it's up to date. You have to obtain MNZ approval for any changes to the Maritime Transport Operator details in the plan. So that's certain sections in the appendix, and they're detailed which parts they are. So that's part 1.1 of the appendix. You need to notify Maritime New Zealand when any ship enters or exits your operation, but you don't actually need to get approval for that. You need to keep a copy of your operator plan on shore, and any ship-specific procedures need to be kept on board the vessel. You need to make sure that each vessel within your fleet continues to meet the requirements of the rules, and make sure that you maintain employee qualifications and training records as part of your operator plan. So these are the people who are required to hold certificates of competency. You also need to ensure that a log is carried on board at all times and includes any non-commercial use. Ensure that ships operate with a valid certificate of survey. Ensure that a recognised surveyor completes surveys for each ship in the fleet. And ensure all corrective actions given by a surveyor are completed. If you don't complete any corrective actions that are given to you by your surveyor, then your certificate of survey is actually invalid. And you need to display the certificate of survey for each ship, which is over 6 metres, on the vessel in a prominent position.
How will MOS entry work? What you need to do as an operator is the following. You'll need to provide a Maritime Transport Operator Certificate application form. And with that application form, you'll need to include fit and proper person application forms. And they will need to be forms for the people who are in your operation responsible for the overall operation, the resourcing of the operation, the crewing of the operation, and responsible for the operational decisions such as scheduling maintenance. You'll also need to provide your operator plan, and you'll need to pay an application fee. The assessment process for your application for an MTOC will take up to 3 months. There are a number of steps involved in processing the application, and this will include a desktop review of the operator plan, a site visit to your operation, and a final decision. I'll talk more in detail about this later on. We recommend that you ask your SSM company now for copies of your ship files. This will provide you with important information that you need to help you with your application for your MTOC. So what will MNZ do? We'll give you information and guidance on how to develop your operator plan. We'll give this guidance either on our website or in hard copy. There will be templates for you to use of the various plans. We already have available a template for the operator plan, and we are looking to provide templates for the maintenance plan, survey plan, and safety equipment list. We're going to be holding workshops in February and March 2014 that will provide you as operators with an opportunity to have more detail around how to prepare your operator plan. There will be information and guidance available also through our local maritime offices. When we have your application and all of your documentation, we'll confirm that your vessel is certified, your operator plan meets the requirements, and those who are responsible for the various items within your operation are fit and proper persons. And then we'll issue your Maritime Transport Operator Certificate. The MTOC application process may take up to 3 months. There are a number of steps involved in this process, and I'll run through those now. The first step is MNZ receiving the entry package. This will include your application form, your operator plan, and supporting documents such as the certificates of survey for your vessels, a declaration that you as the operator will comply with your operator plan, the fit and proper person forms, and the fee. We will then undertake a review for the completeness of that application package. This will simply be a check that all the documents are there, but not necessarily that they are acceptable. If there are any items missing, at that point we will refer to you as the operator for further information. We'll then undertake a review of the Maritime Transport Operator Plan for completeness. The next stage is assigning the application to a reviewer. From there, 2 items then happen. The first is the fit and proper person check. This involves undertaking a police check of those persons who have been named as the fit and proper persons in your operator plan. Secondly, there is the desktop review undertaken of your operator plan. The purpose of this review is to check that your plan reflects the operation and properly documents your safety system. Thereafter, a risk assessment is done in relation to your operation. This checks the risks inherent in your operation and any gaps between the desktop review and any issues that might have occurred from the fit and proper checks. This information then feeds into the site visit. The desktop reviewer and the person who will undertake the site visit will have a discussion prior to the visit to ensure that the person who is carrying out the visit has the relevant information. The site visit then verifies the items from the desktop review and also checks that those people who are named as the fit and proper persons understand their responsibilities. From there, the desktop reviewer and the person who have done the site visit will together make a recommendation in relation to the application for the certificate. That recommendation will then be made to the director or such delegated person, who will then either approve or decline the application. In most cases, of course, we expect that the application will be approved. Remember, we're here to help you with your application. If at any stage we have any questions or we require any further information, we'll contact you. Preparation for MOS. What do operators need to know to prepare their Maritime Transport Operator Plan? You'll need to know the details about your operation. That is the legal name of your operation, the details of those who are the fit and proper persons within your organisation. And as mentioned previously, these are the persons responsible for the day-to-day management of the operation, the resourcing of the operation, the crewing of the operation, and day-to-day operational decisions such as scheduling maintenance. You'll need to have the details about your vessels, that is all the vessels' names and their MNZ numbers. You'll need to have details about the personnel in your operation, that is the contact details of your shore-based personnel and the details of all the personnel within your operation who are required to hold certificates of competency. You'll need to have details about the safe operating procedures in your plan. These are such things as harm prevention procedures and emergency procedures, amongst others. You'll need to have details about the management of information within your operation, such as the storing and reviewing of your MTOC, the accident reporting requirements within your operation, and you'll also need to have other required documents, such as documents relating to your vessels, for example, load line certificates, international tonnage certificates, if these are applicable. And of course, you will need to attach to your operator plan all of the certificates of survey for the vessels within your operation. The operator workshops, to be held in February-March 2014, will provide you with a good opportunity to hear more information about what's required for the operator plan and to help you to prepare your plan.
Okay, so many people have asked if they can actually get somebody else to write their plan for them or to help them prepare their plan. So as an operator, you are completely entitled to ask somebody else for assistance and to get people to assist you with preparing your plan. But as the operator, you are ultimately responsible for developing and maintaining your plan over time. It's also important to remember that Maritime New Zealand will be talking to you directly as the operator. That's during the entry control process and also during any ongoing audits and monitoring activities. So it's really important that you own the plan, that you have it well implemented and it's well understood. So when it comes to tools and resources, you can find a whole heap of information on our website. There's lots of industry information already available in terms of codes and guidelines such as Fish Safe, which some of you may be aware of. Also, you need to look at what other company procedures you already have. You probably have a lot of this stuff already, it's just framing it in a slightly different way. Also need to have a look at the rules themselves, 19 and 44. They obviously give you the requirements under which you need to, the requirements that you need to fulfill. And also you need to think about what other maritime rules are applicable to your operation, because you have to comply with all of those rules as well. Maritime New Zealand's also going through the process of updating some of our safety guidelines, which should also assist you in preparation of making your plan. So ongoing requirements, operator responsibilities, well, ongoing review and update of the plan. It's important to remember that your operator plan is a living document, and we do expect you to change it as things occur. So if you have any instances, for example, then we'd expect you to update your plan. And that goes also for the review and update of any of your safety procedures that are part of that plan. Ongoing maintenance and survey requirements, it's your responsibility to make sure that you comply with all of the ongoing survey and maintenance requirements, and also to meet the obligations under Maritime New Zealand audit. That's whether you hold a deemed MTOC or an actual MTOC. So as I mentioned before, you'll be audited against the requirements of Maritime Rule 21 if you have a deemed certificate, and you'll be audited against the requirements of Maritime Rule Part 19 if you have a actual MTOC. As far as Maritime New Zealand and surveyor responsibilities go, Maritime New Zealand will give you ongoing support and guidance for operators as and when required. We'll also contact operators 6 months prior to the expiry of their deemed MTOC, as we do at the moment. And your surveyor is responsible for any ongoing surveys as required, but obviously you have to engage a surveyor to do that. And Maritime New Zealand will audit your operation and follow up as required. So when it comes to the audit then, Maritime New Zealand will use a risk-based approach to determine audit frequency. So depending on how well your plan is implemented, that will have a bearing on how often we will see you. But when it comes to your first audit, the first audit that you have after the issue of the MTOC will not be more than 2 years after you have been awarded the MTOC. So that's really important to remember, that you can expect one audit within that 2-year period. However, if you've got some issues, if we have some concerns about the way your operation is running, or your plan is not well implemented, then you actually may see us more often within that 2-year period. Subsequent audits will not be more than 4 years apart, and again it will be on a risk-based approach. So one of the things that will feed into your second audit will be your first one. So if you perform really well at your first audit, then you can expect to see us less. As I mentioned, for operators with deemed MTOCs, we'll look to follow your existing SSM cycle when it comes to your audit. So we'll be auditing against the requirements of 21, and we'll try and continue to keep in the same cycle as you would have done with your SSM company. So in summary, this presentation has covered today then the key differences between MOS and SSM, looking at whether MOS applies to you as an operator. We've talked about what operator responsibilities are under MOS, and also looked at when you actually need to enter MOS, and what you have to do to actually get into the MOS framework. And once you're in, what does that mean, and how do I continue to operate under the MOS framework?